Today I'm going to show you how to make this spider out of steel horseshoes and a little bit of scrap steel plate. Just kind of a Halloween decoration to stick on your porch or wherever. Being that it's all steel and has some rough edges, probably not a great table topper unless you have something underneath it. But it's relatively easy, pretty quick. Price kind of depends on how much you can get horseshoes for in your area. I wouldn't necessarily call it a cheap project. I think these are, I want to say I paid like $2.60 per horseshoe, and this takes 10 horseshoes. Let's get started. For this one, we're going to need 10 horseshoes. I went with the smallest size I could get at my local hardware store, Triple Lot. I don't know if that's a standard thing. I'm not a horse guy. And since spiders have 8 legs, we need to take 8 of these and just cut them in half with the angle grinder. Okay, these 8 are going to be the legs, and these 2 are going to be the body. And for the body, I'm just going to weld it together like that. I'm going to use my MIG welder. Stick welder would work just as well for this sort of thing, as long as you're careful. I bumped the gas lever on my regulator and didn't have enough gas and got some porosity there. If this was actually a weld that mattered, I would grind that out and redo it, but for porch decoration, this will be fine. Next, cut these in half. For the next part, we need to decide how the legs are going to get welded together. This can be pretty much any orientation that you want. You just want to try to get all of them the same. I'm leaning towards something like that. And alternatively, you could leave the horseshoes in one piece. Like, you don't have to cut them in half, but I wanted to because this just felt too narrow and too round. So this way it can look a little more segmented, like a real spider. I'm going to go with that right there. And I just put some marks on the table so that I can try to line all of these up in the same way. And I'm just using this inner edge to reference that point there. All right, so we've got our legs, we've got our body. I kind of want to try to close this in a little bit. So I'm going to grab some high dollar templating material. Okay. So I took that template I made and traced it out on this piece of steel. What I wanted to do was just use some sheet metal and some tin snips and cut that out, but I am out of sheet metal apparently. So I've got some, I don't know, I'm guessing that's about 1/8 inch plate. Really doesn't need to be this heavy, and I am going to have to use the plasma cutter on this. So if you have sheet metal and tin snips, that would be another way to go. But as I don't, this is what I'm going to do. This piece did not come out as clean as I wanted. Really, it's a little too dark outside to be using the plasma cutter, but I think for our purposes here, it'll work just fine. I just have to decide whether I want to weld it on the top or the bottom. I'm leaning towards the bottom so that you can actually see the horseshoes, and it'll just give a little more texture to the top as opposed to doing just that. And then if I really wanted to, which I probably won't, but I could, take the grinder after this is welded up and kind of clean this to match, but leaning towards not doing that. Anyway, let's get that welded on. That's good enough. Next we need to figure out where we want the legs to go, what sort of spacing. And I've got a piece of 1-inch steel underneath it. The reason for that is so that the body of the spider is not on the ground. And what I think I'm going to do, I think the rear legs, the first set, so horseshoes have these holes in them where the horseshoe nails pass through. At least for the rear two, I'm going to use those as my markers and have it be something like that. Yeah. So we'll go there. Here for the first set. And something like that. We'll give that a shot, see how that goes. Okay, there's our creepy crawly. I'm going to give him a coat of gloss black spray paint. Once that's dry, I'm going to paint some red eyes on the front. And I may take the grinder to the bottom of the feet just so that they don't scratch surfaces so easily. In fact, I'll do that before I paint it. That would make sense. Alright, the black spray paint is all dry. I've just got some of this cheap gloss acrylic hot rod red. I'm going to use a little bit of that to paint some eyes. And I guess really you could do as many eyes as you want. I know the number of eyes does vary depending on the species of spider. I think I'm going to go 2 big eyes and then a couple smaller ones. Alright, let that dry and that's basically ready to go. Stick it on your porch or wherever. If you like this, go ahead and give it a like. And if you want to see more of the stuff I make in my shop, please subscribe and we'll see you next time. Bye!